Today, we have a galactic ambassador. Isha Patel specializes in the fields of galactic consciousness. Isha is here to facilitate the connections between humans and our galactic family. A profound awakening and contact experience in 2015 set Isha on a journey of exploring consciousness. In her current role as a galactic ambassador, Isha connects with over 20 different galactic races, humanoid, non-humanoid, and facilitates these connections for visionary leaders and pioneers of the new Earth. Through her powerful interdimensional connections, Isha lends her services for activation and channeling to assist other leaders in bringing through powerful visionary tools, techniques, and technologies for healing and our greater evolution. Isha's vision is peaceful, open contact with our galactic family by 2027. And our mission is to lead the global awakening through her teaching, speaking, facilitation, and courses. Isha's galactic contact work has been featured in prominent websites and media worldwide. Isha Patel, she's available for mentoring, consulting, and speaking. You can contact her at www.ishapatel.com. I recently saw Isha at the Portal to Ascension huge 11-day awakening event. She was also an MC. She was fabulous, and she's really an astounding person. So I introduce you to Isha Patel. Hi, Isha.
Hi, Deirdre. Thank you so much for that warm welcome. I'm glad you found me on the Portal to Ascension event.
Yeah, thank you. I, I'm just truly excited to have you here because I can't wait for the audience to get your meditation. Oh, tell me, your 2015 awakening marked the beginning of your journey, and you became a galactic ambassador. Can you share the first contact experience that you had that changed your path?
Yeah, there were a couple of really pivotal moments that helped with this. One was in 2015, after going through this big transition in my own life, I then discovered that I had this ability to trans channel, which happened overnight for me. And it was the Arcturian Council of Light that were the first group of beings that came through. And so I maintained telepathic contact with them for about a year. And over that time, met some few other beings and some different races as well. I met with Elmira from the Pleiadian High Council. I met with Eshtar from the Eshtar Command. So a number of different beings came through. I also discovered some of my galactic soul aspects. So essentially aspects of me that are experiencing galactic lifetimes right now. So I had that for about a year where I was having these telepathic downloads and contact. And then in 2016 is when I experienced my first physical encounter where I was sitting with my friend and the starship that was above the house at the time sent down a beam of light, and I physically saw with my eyes this big beam of light come down through the ceiling. And that, yeah, I mean, that sort of changed everything because suddenly it wasn't just telepathic anymore. It was now this very physical, tangible kind of experience.
It's incredible. Wow. You communicate with over 20 different races in the galactic arena. Could you walk us through some of the main beings you work with and how their energies and messages differ from each other?
Yeah, so there's probably thousands upon thousands of different races out there, and they all have these very unique energetic signatures. So, for example, like one of the races that I connected with is the Arcturians, and they typically come through in this very specific blue spectrum. We kind of have this bit of a running joke because a lot of the beings that I connect with are in the blue ray, and that's to do with my soul energy. It's the beings that I connect with. So like Asha has his own frequency, but I can see you're wearing blue today, Deirdre. So clearly you're part of the Blu-ray group. So we've got the Ashtar blue, we've got Pleiadian blue, you've got Arcturian blue. There's all these different shades of blue. And so it was all actually the blue beings that connected with me first, the blue avians, which are quite commonly known as well. So they came to me firstly through more of like this color vibration that would make itself known to me. So I'd sit in meditation and then I'd have this experience of contact, and then I would get this color, this sort of sense of vibration, and that's how I can tell the difference between the different races. It's taken a little bit to really understand which one's which. Like for example, the difference between Arcturian and Pleiadian, if you don't know it, at the start, it's easy to mistaken them because they both have very similar shades of blue. But then once you get to know the different beings, you realize, oh no, one's clearly Arcturian and the other one has a completely different energy to it. So it has been a process of sort of trial and error, a bit of practice to really sit down and understand every single energy. And after I had some of the blue beings show up, then it started branching out into lots of different other things because at that point I learned how to access my inner heart space, and from there I was able to access anything in the universe. And so then it was Andromedans and Syrians and Lyrans and Vegans and even Greys and Reptilian, like the whole shebang. So I guess the first thing was like the ones that will most closely resonate with my soul, and then from there it just opened the floodgates.
Wow. Have they told you why they chose you to become a galactic ambassador?
I think I chose me, to be honest. I think we choose these lifetimes. People think that, oh, the beings are telling us what to do or whatever. It's not like that at all. I mean, there's so much sovereignty, choice, free will in the whole experience. If I didn't want to be a galactic ambassador, I wouldn't be a galactic ambassador. No one's forcing me to do this. I do this because there's so much love that I have for our galactic family, and I want to be here doing this work all day, every day, doing a bajillion interviews as my life currently is at the moment. But I'm happy. I'm happy to do that because I know how important it is on both sides, from the Earth human side, but also from the galactic side, that we do reconnect with our galactic family as part of this overarching vision of peace and harmony within the universe.
True. Excellent. How do you discern between benevolent and non-benevolent beings? Are there practical methods that people can use to ensure safe contact?
Well, yeah, I think firstly it's important to acknowledge that there is a wide spectrum of different beings out there. And I sort of liken it to, people on Earth. Like here on Earth, you got lots of amazing human beings, very kind, beautiful people. And then you've got some people who I don't even call them, they're not bad. It's just that maybe they've experienced trauma, or maybe they haven't experienced the same level of love that other people have, and so they're acting out in ways that people would consider bad. They might be that, people who do shootings, or just all the suffering that we experience on the planet is because these people, they just don't have love. They don't know what it's like to receive love. And so they're acting from a place of hurt and anger and trauma. And so the same way that humans on Earth experience trauma does exist in other galactic races as well. And so there are beings, but also entire races that have experienced levels of trauma. And so because of that, there is a need to be discerning in who you're connecting with. You can't just assume that every single being you channel or every being you connect with is going to be positive, because that's like walking into China and saying every single person here is good. I'm sure like the majority, 99% of people in China are probably very lovely, but I'm sure even China has, crime rates. I'm sure there's some people out there who are suffering and therefore acting out in those sorts of ways. And so from that compassionate place, we can acknowledge that that exists, and at the same time, we be mindful of who we allow to enter into our energy field. It's exactly the same as like you would have some level of discernment around who enters your own home, right? Like, I mean, most people, yeah, you probably let into your home, but if there was like, someone, eh, I don't know, who maybe like might come in and destroy or damage everything, you might think twice before you let them into your home. Maybe you need to send them off to some rehab first, and then you invite them into your home. So having discernment is important, and the way that we do that in a frequency level is we do it through the energy that we emit out. So, for example, if I'm meditating in my heart space and there's a being that approaches me, if I haven't met this being before, the first thing that I do is I discern its energy. So I ask, first of all, who are you? Where are you from? And if they're a being that is of high vibrational energy, they'll usually tell you. They have nothing to hide. There's no reason why they can't tell you who they are and where they're from. So the first sign is if they don't tell me who they are, I'm like, okay, well, that's first of all a bit of a red flag for me. I have to caveat here though that sometimes they do tell you and we're not receptive to it, which is a whole different ballgame. So we need to be receptive to the answers they give us. But assuming that you have that clarity and you can receive that, and then if they still don't tell you who they are, you should probably think twice. So that's number one. The second thing you can do is you can drop into your heart for a moment and just imagine that you're sending all this love from your heart to the being. And so when you do that, you send all of this love from your heart. This is simple law of attraction. What you put out is what you get back. So when you send this loving energy, if the being is of that same vibration and they're able to match the love vibration and meet you in that space, then they will come forward. And one of the ways that they will make their energy known to me is then they will approach me. They will place their hand on my heart, or sometimes there'll be a third eye to third eye connection. And then I'll feel their energy. And so this is where, the third eye and the heart, they have to work together, because the third eye allows you to see. You can see all sorts of things, but you can also see illusions. So where the heart comes in is it allows you to feel, and it's very difficult to get lost when you're in the feeling realm, because when you're in the feeling realm, it's either going to feel light and wonderful and amazing, or it's going to feel dense, or it's going to feel like something feels off. And if something feels off, trust that, like really trust that. If you go into an interaction with another being and something just doesn't feel 100% right, step back. You don't have to go there. You can choose. You have sovereignty, you have free will. You can step back and you say, not at this time, not now. I'm not willing to have this interaction right now. And that's okay. It's totally fine. And so there's ways that you can experience these connections in a way that's going to be healthy for your energy field, and also managing your own sovereignty, your own free will, and your ability to say no if that's what you feel like, and they have to respect that.
Wow. It sounds like good advice for planet Earth.
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's no different to what we experience here. I think some people, they lack intuition even here on Earth. Like I don't know how. It's just I've always had this sense, even when I was young, like when I was a teenager growing up, and there's these boys in school or whatever, and they want to ask me out on a date, and I would just feel like, no, this person doesn't feel good. But then other people wouldn't have that discernment, and I would see this other person go out with this guy, the one who's already approached me and I've rejected. Then they go out with him, and he ends up cheating on them. And I was like, well, I kind of felt that, like I felt that this person wasn't of integrity, and so I've had this ability to kind of judge that sense of character from a young age, even if I don't even meet them in person, even if we're just chatting online, or if I meet them briefly or something. It's the ability to trust that gut feeling and say, actually,
Yeah.
this doesn't feel right for me, and to really honor that and trust that.
Such a gift to have discernment at such a young age. Wow.
Yeah, and if you're not like me and if you don't have it at a young age, you can cultivate it. So this is something that I don't want everyone to think, oh, well, Isha's just lucky. Like, I mean, yeah, I was blessed to have that gift,
Yeah.
but it is a skill that you can learn and you can cultivate. And I teach this to my students all the time. We actually spent a lot of time in the program when we work together. We spend a lot of time working on discernment because sometimes when we're younger, we don't get taught healthy boundaries, which is it's a whole other topic which we won't spend the hour on, but essentially it's when you're younger, if you have an adult that comes into the home and you feel like, oh, I don't want to hug this adult, but your mum says, oh no, this is Uncle so and so, you should go and hug them. What you're doing is you're overriding your body's capacity to say no and to honor its boundaries because your parents are telling you what to do. And sometimes it might be legitimate. Maybe the uncle's a really lovely guy, but as a child, maybe you were just never taught to honor your feeling because it's rude or because it's considered, impolite in a social setting to reject, that sort of touch. So it's all those little things that happen to us. And so if we override our ability to have healthy boundaries as a child, then when we get older or when we go out into the spiritual realms, sometimes we don't know how to say no. And so one of the things we really work on in the program is how to discern. And if it doesn't feel right, you don't do it. No one's going to get offended. It's okay. Everything's okay. But you have to learn to honor your own space and your own boundaries.
So good. I'm so happy you're doing that. Could you explain the concept of an inner heart space? Because you spoke about that. And you said it's like a universal portal.
Mm-hmm.
And how can people access it for themselves?
Yeah. So just going back to that earlier part of my journey. So I mentioned that, I had that spontaneous channeling experience. So there were basically two key practices or processes that helped me in my stages of evolution. The first one was when I was I think in my late teens, early 20s, I signed up to work with a spiritual mentor and she taught me how to activate my Merkaba light body. So I spent about a year and a half really focusing on that. And that was the thing that led me to learn how to channel, which was great. It was amazing, but I didn't have the levels of discernment, and it was almost like a bit of a fluke. Like I meditated and then suddenly I'm connecting with these beings, but I didn't really know how it happened. I didn't know if I could replicate it. It happened just spontaneously, like when it wanted to, wasn't something that I had any control over.
Yeah.
So one of the things that really helped to refine my practice later on was learning how to go into my inner heart space. And again, this was a practice that I sat down, I did it on a daily basis. Every day I would practice going into my inner heart space. And I discovered that that is actually a universal language that is known by all the other beings, which is it's kind of mind-blowing, because when you go into this inner heart space, it is a space that all the other galactic beings and even other realms like angelic beings and like elemental beings, they all know about the space. So when I go into my heart and I connect into my heart, I can then connect with any being in the entire universe, in any dimension, in any realm, on any planet, anywhere, because it's a frequency-based connection. So when I learned about that, that was the piece that really changed everything for me because I realized that instead of just having these spontaneous channeling experiences, I could actually do it with intention and I could do it of my own will. So instead of just waiting for some Arcturian to come and make contact with me, I could now go and initiate the contact myself and I can go and choose when and how I want these contacts to happen. So that was a complete game changer in my practice.
Wow. That's pure empowerment.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a big part of our philosophy. I mean, like I have my podcast called First Contact, and our entire premise behind that is first contact is when you choose it. We don't need to wait for the government. We don't need to wait for some magical, solar flare or whatever, it's going to be. It's like there's nothing outside of ourselves. We can choose right now to go into our heart spaces and we can initiate contact ourselves if that's what we want. And we can do it with discernment. We can do it with love. We can do it with the appropriate protections in place for our energy. And that's a choice that we all have available to us. It is the most it's the most empowering thing to know that we are the ones that can do that.
Yay! I'm so excited to hear that. You said that you see 2027 as significant for open contact. Can you explain?
Yeah, so you often hear me talking about this idea of open contact by 2027. And, people always ask me, well, where does that date come from? Because a lot of people in the past have made predictions, or they've made, yeah, it's like this thing of it's going to happen on a certain date, but then it doesn't really happen. For example, we had, all these people before 2012 saying that 2012 was going to be the big moment in the new age, and it was like this really big deal. And then 2012 came and went, and it was like, well, not a whole lot happened, And and then the same happened in 2020. It was meant to again be this really big deal. And well, stuff did happen in 2020, not what we expected, but we've had these moments in time where people have made these predictions, and what's happened is then people have latched onto this idea that something is going to happen. But the problem is that people expect it's going to come from outside of themselves. So when people ask me why 2027, I said, because we chose it. That's what we're going to do. Like, and I'm out there every day making it happen. I'm not just sitting there, doing my everyday life thinking, oh, some craft is going to appear in 2027. No, it's going to happen because we choose it. The one thing that people need to remember is that we have the choice of when this open contact happens. And even if people in the government are actively trying to stop it, even if there are forces that don't want this to happen, there's 8 billion people here on the planet, and we only need 1% of them to intend this for this to happen. 1% is not a big deal. So you think about the magnitude of 1% versus like the other 99% who could be even neutral and it still wouldn't affect anything. If 1% of the population step into that higher vibration or that fifth dimensional frequency, then the whole planet is going to have this moment of awakening. And there's nothing magical about it other than who's going to choose it. So I've chosen it. I think you've chosen it, Deirdre. I think the people that are watching this have chosen this. So now it's about taking action. And that's where the piece of actually stepping forward and doing the work becomes really important, because we can sit and hope and wish all day, every day. But at the end of the day, what's going to be the most pivotal thing? It's going to be every single one of us individually choosing to make this our priority, to take those 10, 15 minutes every day to drop into our hearts, to radiate that love vibration, to connect with the heart of Gaia, and to allow this connection to happen. And if we choose it, we're going to see it. If all of us choose it that we want it by 2027, we prioritize it. And so the goalposts that we say, it's coming from Star Family as well, because they're working with us, but it's equally dependent on us because we have free will. And that's really important for people to recognize.
Beautiful. I'm, I'm really happy to hear that. When you look ahead to potential contact, which galactic races do you think will be the ones to make first open contact with us?
So a lot of people do ask me this question. It's one of the questions I get quite often. First, they want to know when is it going to happen, and second, they want to know who's it going to be. So they're like my two most commonly asked questions. And one of the things I always say to people is, look, it's first of all, the contact is whoever you first contact with. So like my first contact was with the Arcturians. Actually, I had one experience even before that, which I sort of remembered later on, where I experienced connection with a Lyran being in a dream state. So I had those initial contacts over 10 years ago. And so when people talk about what's it going to be, I think the question that's on a lot of people's minds is more, who's the formal contact going to be with? So if the president of the United States walked down the street and connected with an ET, who's that going to be? And for that, I see a number of different potentials at this point. I do see Ashtar and the Ashtar Command having quite a significant and pivotal role in that, but it will come down to, at that moment, what is of the most highest convergence. And I see multiple different timelines at the moment. I don't see any set one in stone right now, because the thing is with the timelines is that things can change at any different moment as well. And so I definitely see open contact happening. I see that moment coming to fruition. But who that very first being will be, I think is still open to possibility right now.
Wow. So you run a galactic community with over 100 activations. What's the most important thing that you teach your students? Because I think quite a few people in the audience are looking for people to learn from because it's not like it's in our schools. So could you share how your school works?
Yeah, so we have this amazing galactic community of just beautiful souls who are so committed to doing the work. You know, they're really dedicated, they show up, they do the practices. And the result of that is they've been able to learn how to make contact for themselves. Now, there's a few things that we really focus on. Number one is we focus very much on the discernment and how to protect your energy field. That's really big part of what we do. The second thing is a lot of the time, the process to contact is not so much about how to make contact, but how to get out of your own way so that the contact can happen. And so you might, for example, need to clear your chakras, clear your energy field before you can have a clear contact. Maybe you've got a bit of healing work to do, and then you'll be able to have a better experience with contact. Because contact work is very much frequency based, it's all about cleaning up your own energy field. And any energetic blockages, they can show up in so many different ways. One of the common ones that people experience, especially if they're light workers, starseeds, is the blockage in the sacral chakra, which is to do with creativity and abundance. And so some of the work that we do in the community is how to clear up those lower chakras so that you can feel safe, so that you can feel secure, so that you can be in your creative flow and receiving abundance, because it's very hard to focus on things of a higher nature if you're struggling to put food on the table. I mean, that just comes down to basic psychology. If you're still focusing on everyday stresses and those things are really stressing you out, then sometimes you need to focus on clearing that stuff up first, and then you can really sit down and focus on the higher practices. So we really have quite a holistic approach to contact work in terms of really looking at the spiritual self as a whole. We go through all of the chakras, we go through clearing the blockages, and then we have a number of different activations that are focused specifically on contact as well. So you'll learn how to connect with your Arcturian family, you'll learn how to connect with your Pleiadian family, you'll learn how to connect with the Ashtar and Ashtar Command, you'll learn how to connect with some angelic beings like Archangel Michael. And then we also have the inner heart process, which is really the cornerstone of the work that I teach. And once you learn that, you can connect with any being in the universe. So it's all about putting the right foundations in place. And when you have those foundations and you've cleaned up your energy field, then you're ready to go into your heart space, open up that frequency. And I mean, now the world is your oyster. You want to manifest something, go into your inner heart. You want to connect with a being, go into your inner heart. You want to learn wisdom on how to heal yourself, great. Go into the inner heart, go meet with the Arcturians and get the wisdom. So everything is available to you. But like anything, it takes a bit of practice. Like you go to the gym to learn how to lift weights. If you just, in the first session, you try and lift 100 kilos, you're probably going to injure yourself, right? It's probably a bad idea. But if you go for a year and every day you build yourself up and you work up towards it, then you will be able to eventually easily lift 100 kilos. So doing this contact work is very much the same way. You clean up your chakras, you develop a regular healthy meditation practice, you learn how to ground yourself, you learn how to practice discernment. And then once you have all these beautiful tools up your tool belt, then you can move forward in that. And then eventually all my students get to a point after maybe, 3, 4 years or something, where I say to them, now you go and do it on your own. You don't need me anymore. And that's my favorite part of the whole program, is when they go off and they trust themselves, they learn how to do it, they're fully empowered in their own practice, and then maybe they can even go and teach other people.
Thank you for taking this on and coming at this time to do what you're doing. I just think it's so important. And everything that you do Does do you feel this helps with ascension? Because
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, ascension is such a big part of it. I feel like, sometimes people ask me, like, why do I need to connect with the galactic beings? Like, maybe I can just, sit in my own mindfulness practice. And I say, that's great. If you have a mindfulness practice or you're sitting there and you're doing your, Vipassana or whatever other style of meditation, that's fabulous. But how can we achieve unity consciousness if you're not even aware that the beings exist? I mean, it's such a vital part. Everyone's like, oh, I'm just going to go into my heart and connect to source. I'm like, that's great. Connect to source. Absolutely. Connect to source as much as you like. But if there's no awareness that expands from that, like it's like saying I'm going to connect to God, but I'm going to ignore the trees and the animals and the birds and the grass and I'm going to ignore planet Earth and ignore the sky. Well, then you're not really connected to source, are you? So, source is everything.
yeah,
Go into your center, find your source, but have an awareness. Connect with the angelic realms, understand who they are and their role. Connect with the galactic realms, understand who they are and what their role is. Connect with the unified field of our collective human consciousness and see what's really going on. Because in order to truly, truly connect to source, you can't ignore what's happening out there in all of these other realms as well. So I think for us to ascend and go into 5D, which is unified field consciousness, the awareness is a really, really important piece of that. So it's awareness of Gaia's frequency, it's awareness of the human collective, it's awareness of the galactic realms, the angelic realms, the elemental realms. When you expand into awareness of all of that, then yes, at the end of all of that, we're all one, and it's all one anyway. But it's the unfolding of that. That's the journey to ascension, which is really, we're going inwards. We're not ascending anywhere. From a scientific point of view, every time you add a dimension on, you're actually including the previous dimension. So for example, the second dimension is in mathematics is a line. It's a 2D line, right? To go from 2D into 3D, you still including a line. You can't build a third dimensional cube without having a line. It's impossible. And likewise, you can't have the line without the one dimension of a dot. So you go from a dot to a line to a square to a cube. That's the progression. And so every time we go from one dimension to another, we include everything that's in that. And so to get our human race into the fifth dimension unified field consciousness, we have to include everything. Everything is coming with us. Everything is in for the ride. It's not about saying, oh, I'm going to reject all these parts of myself and there's not going to be any more wars and we're going to ditch this and we're going to ditch my lower self and I'm going to boot my ego out the door. It's none of that. It's actually taking everything in with presence and awareness and saying, right, we're all coming in. We're integrating together as one. And that's the unified field consciousness. And that's the ascension. And the galactic piece is a really important part of that.
beautiful. Were you gonna do a heart meditation?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I can do a heart meditation for you. So one of the things I love to demonstrate is how to actually shift from your head to your heart. This is one of the first steps of the inner heart practice. There are more processes that follow from that, which you can learn in the galactic community. But the very first step is you go from your head into your heart space. And then also we're going to gift the four foundation practices, which is an extended version of what I'm about to show you today as well. So yeah, I'm happy to do a little demonstration if that's what you guys want.
Yeah, I think the
Absolutely.
audience would love that.
And beautiful. All right. So just one thing, if you're listening to this while driving, don't do the meditation. Feel that goes without saying, but sometimes I have to say it. So just taking a deep breath and just take a few moments to really breathe into your body. And as you breathe in, just bring yourself into a space of awareness. And once you're breathing in through the body, on your next in breath, imagine that you're taking that breath all the way down, extending it out through the feet. And imagine that from the base of your spine, there is a connection going down, like a thread of light moving from the heart all the way to the heart of Gaia. And with each breath, you're breathing in, extending that breath down, connecting through that thread of light, connecting down to the heart of Gaia. And as we breathe in, we're breathing through the Earth Star Chakra, connecting heart to heart with Mother Earth. And as you breathe in, imagine that you have all this beautiful love in your heart and you're wrapping it up like a gift. And then you're sending this gift down to Gaia, gifting her your love. And as you send that love down, just pause for a moment and allow yourself to feel and receive that pulse of love that she sends back. And every time you send love from your heart to the heart of Gaia, she will return that love to you, this infinite, divine, unconditional love. And you can breathe that love into your heart. And then from your heart center, breathe up through the crown, connecting up to the infinite source consciousness. As you send the love from your heart up to source, through the crown, through your soul star chakra, and allow that love to return to you in your heart. And here in your heart center, you have this beautiful connection now between Gaia, Source, and your inner heart star. And as we sit in this light, imagine that you're dropping deeper into your heart center, dropping deeper into your heart center. And as you breathe in, connect with your inner heart star. And your heart star is your inner light that's always there, it's always present, the starlight within you. As you breathe into your heart star, allow that light to radiate out. Feel that light coming out through the body, lighting up every cell within you. Everything the light touches also turns to light until your whole body is filled with this bright, white, radiant light. And then extending that light out from your heart into your energy field. And feel your energy field lighting up as your heart star radiates out in all directions. Just having a few breaths here. Allow yourself to really sit in your heart center. And when you're ready, just gently bringing your awareness into your body, breathing deep into the belly. And as you exhale out, bring your awareness into your body, into the space, your surroundings, bringing some gentle movements into your fingers and your toes, and slowly opening your eyes when you're ready.
That was beautiful. I
Thank
even felt Gaia,
you.
and tears started coming to my eyes.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Mm.
Whenever we do this practice, I feel like we start to glow, like your face is just glowing right now. It's such a beautiful practice. This is actually one that I like to do on a daily basis, and it's part of the so I've got a meditation called the four foundation practices, and so this is the first part of those four practices. And so the whole process, it's about 15 minutes a day that I do, and you go through, you do your heart start, and then you set up your energy field for the day, much the same way that, like everybody, most people have a bath or shower once a day, right? Well, once a day, you give yourself an energetic bath. You cleanse your energy field so that you can be ready and set up for the day to come. And why I love this practice is it's so heart opening. And for anyone who wants to get into this, deeper spiritual and contact sort of work, opening the heart is the first step to that. So what we experience today was the first of the four foundation practices. And the four foundation practices is the foundational meditation to then learn how to go into the inner heart space where you can then learn how to make contact.
Thank you so much for gifting the audience this.
You're so welcome.
This is exceptional because this could be their first experience and step to
Hmm.
their ascension path.
Yeah, if this is your first step, I'm honored to be a part of that. I mean, it's just beautiful.
Wow. Is there anything that you would like to share with our audience that you haven't already shared? Because I know you already have another talk that's coming. So
Yeah. Um, Let me just see if there's anything that wants to come through for today.
cool.
I feel like the audience is I mean you're a lot of the people are star seeds, right, that are going to be watching this. So
And,
just sort of
and
feeling into the audience at the moment. And yeah, I guess yeah, the message that's coming through is that you're all star seeds. We all come from the stars. And to, the label of star seed, it's a very interesting phenomenon because whether you think you're a star seed or you're not a star seed, the reality is you are a star seed because we've all come to planet Earth, to Gaia at this time to assist with the ascension. The question is, how aware are we of that star seed origin and that nature? And so,
true,
really, the journey is about expanding the awareness rather than getting caught up in the labels and the titles of what a star seed is. And one of the most common questions that people ask me is they want to know, oh, Isha, which star seed am I? Am I Arcturian, Pleiadian, Andromedan? And I say, well, the journey is this unfolding expansion of what is really your multidimensional self. And I used to think I was Arcturian because that was the first group of beings that I met, and I just attached, I identified with that thing, and then I realized, how hilarious that was because then I realized I've got a soul aspect that's Arcturian, I've got a soul aspect that's Pleiadian, I've got a soul aspect who's Lyran, I've got soul aspects in so many of these different races and realms that I can't say I'm any one of them. But the beauty of being this multi-dimensional self is that when we go into the inner heart, we can meet all of these soul aspects and we can draw upon the wisdom of that. And the ones that will come through for you, the aspects that step forward at any given moment in time will be the one that is most needed right now for yourself or for the collective. And so the big message that's really coming through today from our star family is, don't get identified with which race you are, don't get identified with the starseed label. Just recognize that we are all these multidimensional beings, and you're going to have different experiences at different times depending on which aspect wants to come forward and be leading or guiding in that moment. And then when that aspect shifts and changes, be open to the changing as well. Don't just say,
yeah,
oh, I'm Arcturian and that's my one race, because you might then block the other ones that are trying to come through as well. So be open in this idea that there could be many races, and let yourself experience the full depth of that.
good advice. Because you do hear people say, "Oh, I'm this, oh, I'm that." What this whole retreat is about the multi-dimensional soul.
Exactly.
You just perfectly explained it. Wow.
Beautiful.
I really, really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and talk to the audience today. Really,
Of course,
really appreciate it.
always happy to be here. I know I'm doing interviews back to back at the moment. It's been nuts, but I'm happy to show up, happy to spread the message. And yeah, I'm for anyone who wants to connect as well, I'm pretty active on Facebook and Instagram. So if you just search Isha Patel, EESHAPATEL. And also I believe we have a free gift to give today as well.
Absolutely. We will post a link to your website that has the free gift so people can go to your website and see everything that you have to offer, like your school, meditation stuff. everything.
Beautiful. I love that. And for anyone who wants the full foundation practices in particular, yeah, just I'm happy to message it. Just find me on whatever platform, email, Facebook, Instagram, and I'd be happy to send it over.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're
Really,
welcome. Thanks
really.
for having me on.
All the best. Good luck with all the interviews.
Thank you. And you too. It's amazing that you're putting this together. I know it's not easy to put on these kinds of summits, and a lot of work and energy goes in. So I appreciate you and your service to the world.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.